Good morning, Facebook and YouTube. Good morning, Lily. I'm on Facebook on my phone. I'm on YouTube on my laptop. And it is Saturday, so that means it's AA this morning. Please be kind to each other in the chat. Don't harass anyone. And no judgment, no bullying. This is a support help group for alcoholics and my supporters and people that want to know, learn ways that they can help a friend or family member who may be suffering from alcoholism. But you can use this as in anything that you want. So please be kind to one another, and that is all I ask. So if you're new here, welcome. My name is Sandra. I'm an alcoholic, and I decided to start doing AA meetings here because why not? I learned what I needed to do and what I need to do every single day to stay sober, and I want to share it with all of you because that's what the book tells me to do. Is I need to share my experience, share my days of alcohol, and share ways that I have changed thanks to AA and the fellowship that we have with the AA group. So I'm going to say the Serenity Prayer and then get into the meeting. I do put in the description the book we are reading, the page we are reading, and the story that we are reading. So it should be right down at the bottom of the video screen. It should have a spot there that says more. That is where you click there and you can find the page that we are on and what book. And I'm in the 4th edition, just so everybody knows. They are different books, so it might not be on the same exact page, but it shouldn't be too far off of the same page. So God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And I think that you can hear me. I didn't ask before. I could be talking to myself and not know it. I'll wait for my sister to give me a 1-1 or whatever to let me know that you guys can see me and hear me. And you might hear the dog's nails clicking. All right, thank you, Lily. Okay. 1, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3, made the decision to turn our will and our lives over the care of God as we understood Him. 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defective characters. 7, humbly asked Him to remove our shortcomings. 8, made a list of all persons we had harmed and become willing to make amends to them all. 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10, continue to take personal inventory of ourselves and when wrong, promptly admit it. 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only poured knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. 12. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. And we're in the big book, uh, number 9, and it is on page 348. The story is It Might Have Been Worse. Alcohol was a looming cloud in this banker's bright sky. With rare foresight, he realized it could become a tornado. How can a person with a fine family, an attractive home, an excellent position, and high standing in an important city become an alcoholic? As I later found out through Alcoholics Anonymous, alcohol is no respecter of economic status, social and business standings, or intelligence. I was raised like the majority of American boys, coming from a family of modest circumstances, attending public schools, having the social life of a small Midwestern town with part-time work and some athletics. The ambition to succeed was instilled in me by my Scandinavian parents or Scandinavian parents who came to this country where opportunities were so great. Keep busy always. Have something constructive to do. I did work. Sorry, the dog is very distracting. I have my phone propped up on a box with a blanket holding it, and of course he needs to get up and down off the bed. So if you fall over Facebook, that's why. I did work of all kinds after school and during vacations, trying to find that which would appeal most as a goal for a life work. Then there were wartime service to interrupt my plans and an education to be picked up after the war. After that came marriage, getting started in business and a family. The story is not very different from that of thousands of other young men in my generation. It shows nothing or no one to blame for alcoholism. The drive to get ahead, to succeed, kept me too busy for many years to have any great experience with social life. I would have begrudged the time or money for alcohol. In fact, I was afraid to try it for fear that I would wind up like many examples I had seen of excessive drinking in the army. I was intolerant of people who drank, particularly those who drank to an extent to interfere with their on-the-job performance. In time, I became an officer and director of one of the largest commercial banks in the country. I achieved recognized and national standing in my profession, as well as becoming a director in many important institutions. Having to do with the civic life at large of a large city, I had a family to be proud of, actively sharing in the responsibilities of good citizenship. My drinking did not start until after I was 35 and a fairly successful career had been established. But success brought increased social activities, and I realized that many of my friends enjoyed a social drink with no apparent harm to themselves or others. I just liked being different, so ultimately I began to join them occasionally. At first it was just an occasional drink, then I looked forward to the weekend of golf and the 19th hole. The cocktail hour became a daily routine gradually. The quantity increased and the occasion for a drink became more frequent. A hard day, worries and pressure, bad news, good news, there were more and more reasons for a drink. Why did I want increasingly greater quantities of alcohol? It was frightening. That drink was being substituted for more and more of things I really enjoyed doing. Golf, hunting, and fishing were now merely excuses to drink excessively. I made promises to myself, my family, and friends and broke them. Short dry spells ended in heavy drinking. I tried to hide my drinking by going places where I was unlikely to see anyone I knew. Hangovers and remorse were always with me. The next steps were bottle hiding and excuses for trips in order to drink without restraint. Cunning, baffling, powerful, and gradual creeping up of the frequency and quantity of alcohol and what it does to a person is apparent to everyone but the person involved. When it became noticeable to the point of comment in a diverse device way of sneaking drinks on the side, rehearsals then became part of the pattern, stopping at bars on the way to or from the place where drinks were to be served, never having enough, always craving more. The obsession for alcohol gradually began to dominate all my activities, particularly while traveling. Drink planning became more important than any other plan. Taking you snoring. I tried the wagon on numerous occasions, but I always felt unhappy and abused. I tried psychiatry. I don't know what that word is. But of course, I gave the no psychiatrist no cooperation. I was living in constant fear that I would get caught while driving a car, so I used taxis part of the time. Then I began to have blackouts, and that was a constant worry to wake up at home not knowing how I got there and to realize I had driven my car become torture. Not knowing where I had been or how I got home was making me desperate. Taking you snoring. It now became necessary to have noon drinks at 5, just two, or at first, just two, then gradually more. My hours of work were flexible so that returning to the office was not always important. Then I became careless and returned sometimes when I shouldn't have. This worried me. The last 2 years of my drinking, my entire personality changed to a cynical, intolerant, and arrogant person, completely different from my normal self. It was at this stage of my life that resentment came in. resenting anyone and everyone who might interfere with my personal plan and ways of doing things, especially for an interference with my drinking. I was a I was full of self-pity. I will never know all the people I hurt, all the friends I abused, the humiliation of my family, the worry of my business associates, or how far reaching it was. I continue to be surprised by the people I meet who say, "You haven't had a drink for a long time, have you?" The surprise to me is the fact that I didn't know that they knew my drinking had gotten out of control. That is where we are really fooled. We think we can drink it to excess without anyone knowing it. Everyone knows it. The only one we are fooling is ourselves. We rationalize and excuse our conduct beyond all reason. My wife and I had always, I lost my spot. Okay, it seemed to me my wife was becoming more intolerant and narrow minded all the time. Whenever we went out, she appeared to go out of her way to keep me from having more than one drink. Well, alcoholic can be satisfied with one drink. After every cocktail party or dinner party, she would say she couldn't understand how I could get in such a drunken stupor on one drink. She of course didn't realize how cunning an alcoholic can be and the lengths to which he will go in finding ways to satisfy the compulsion for more and more drinks after having had the first one. Neither did I. Finally, our invitations became fewer and fewer as friends had more experience with my drinking pattern. 2 years before I joined AA, my wife took a long trip during which she wrote me she just couldn't return unless I did something about my drinking. It was a shock, of course, but I promised to stop and she returned. A year later, while we were on a vacation trip, she packed up to go home because of my excessive drinking, and I talked her out of it with the promise I would go on the wagon for at least a year. I promised. Within 2 months, I began again. The following spring, she left me one day without giving me any idea of where she had gone, hoping this would bring me to my senses. In a few days an attorney called on me and explained that something would have to be done, as she couldn't face returning to me as I was. Again I promised to do something about it. Broken promises, humiliation, hopelessness, hopelessness, worry, anxiety, but still not enough. There comes a time when you don't want to live and are afraid to die. Some crisis brings you to a point of deciding to do something about your drinking problem, to try anything, help you only or help you once continually reject suggestions, once turned aside are finally accepted in desperation. I finally the final decision came when my daughter, following a drunk of mine that ruined my wife's birthday, said, "It's Alcoholics Anonymous or else." Of course, this suggestion had been made before, on a number of occasions, but like all alcoholics, I wanted to handle my problem my own way, which really meant I didn't want anything to interfere with my drinking. I was trying to find an easier, softer way. By now it had become difficult to visualize a life without alcohol. However, my low had been reached. I realized I had been going down and down. I was unhappy myself, and I had brought unhappiness to all who cared for me. Physically, I couldn't take it anymore. Cold sweats, jumpy nerves, and lack of sleep were becoming intolerable. Mentally, the fear and tension, the complete change in attitude and outlook bewildered me. This was no way to live. The time for decision had arrived, and it was a relief to say yes when my family said they would call Alcoholics Anonymous for me. A relief, even though I dreaded it, feeling that this was the end of everything. Early the next morning, a man whose name I knew well, a lawyer, called me. Within 35 minutes, within 30 minutes, I knew AA was the answer for me. We visited most of that day and attended a meeting that night. I don't know what I expected, but I most certainly didn't visualize a group of people talking about their drinking problems, making light of their personal tragedies, and at the same time enjoying themselves. However, after I heard a few stories of jails, sanitariums, broken homes, and Skid Row, I wondered if one page, not two. I wondered if I really was an alcoholic. After all, I hadn't started to drink early in life, so I had some stability and maturity to guide me for a while. My responsibilities had been a restraining influence. I had had no brushes with the law, though I should have had many. I had no, I had not yet lost my job or family, even though both were on the verge of going. My financial standing, where is it? Okay, my financial standing had not been impaired. Could I be an alcoholic without some of the hair-raising experiences I had heard of in meetings? The answer came to me very simply in the first step of the 12 steps of alcohol, of AA. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. This didn't say we had to be in jail 10, 50, or 100 times. It didn't say I had to lose 1, 5, or 10 jobs. It didn't say I had to lose my family. It didn't say I had to finally live on Skid Row and drink bay rum, canned heat, or lemon extract. It did say I admitted I was powerless over alcohol, that my life had become unmanageable. Most certainly I was powerless over alcohol, and for me, my life had become unmanageable. It wasn't how far I had gone, but where I was headed. It was important to me to see what alcohol had done to me and would continue to do if I didn't have help. At first, it was a shock to realize I was an alcoholic, but the realization that there was hope made it easier. The baffling problem of getting drunk when I had every intention of staying sober was simplified. It was a great relief to know I didn't have to drink anymore. I was told that I must want sobriety for my own sake, and I am convinced this is true. There may be many reasons that bring one to AA for the first time, but the lasting one must be to want sobriety and AA way of living for oneself. From the start, I liked everything about the AA program. I liked the description of the alcoholic as a person who had found that alcohol is interfering with his social or business life. The allergy idea I could understand because I'm allergic to certain pollens. Some of my family are allergic to certain foods. What could be more reasonable than that some people, including myself, were allergic to alcohol? The explanation that alcoholism was a disease of a twofold nature, an allergy of the body and an obsession of the mind, cleared up a number of puzzling questions for me. The allergy we could do nothing about. Somehow our bodies had reached the point where we could no longer absorb alcohol in our system. The why is not important. The fact is that one drink will set up a reaction in our system that requires more. That one drink is too much and 100 drinks are not enough. The obsession of mind was a little harder to understand, and yet everyone has obsessions of various kinds. The alcoholic has them to an exaggerated degree. Over a period of time, he has built up self pity and resentment towards anyone or anything that interferes with his drinking. Dishonest thinking, prejudiced ego, egotism towards anyone and everyone who dares to cross him, vanity and a critical attitude of character defects that gradually creep in and become a part of his life. Living with fear and tension inevitably results inevitably yeah inevitably results in wanting to ease that tension, which alcohol seems to do temporarily. It took me some time to realize that the 12 steps of AA were designed to help correct these defects of character and so help remove the obsession to drink. The 12 steps, which to me are a spiritual way of living, soon meant honest thinking, not wishful thinking. One, open mindedness, a willingness to try, and a faith to accept. They meant patience, tolerance, and humility, and above all, the belief that a power greater than myself could help. That power I chose to call God. A willingness to do whatever I was told to do simplified the program for me. Study the AA book. Don't just read it. They told me to go to meetings, and I still do at every available opportunity, whether I am home or in some other city. Attending meetings has never been a chore to me, nor have I attended them with a feeling of just doing my duty. Meetings are both relaxing and refreshing to me. After a hard day, they said, get active. So I helped whenever I could, and I still do. A spiritual experience to me meant attending meetings and seeing a group of people all there for the purpose of helping each other. Hearing the 12 steps and the 12 traditions read at a meeting and hearing the Lord's Prayer, which is at an AA meeting, has such great meaning. Thy will be done, not mine. A spiritual awakening soon came to mean trying each day to be a little more thoughtful, more considerate, a little more courteous to those with whom I came in contact. To most of us, making amends will take the rest of our lives, but we can start immediately. Just being sober will be making amends to many we have hurt by our drunken actions. Making amends is sometimes doing what we are capable of doing but fail to do because of alcohol. Carrying out community responsibilities such as community funds, Red Cross, educational and religious activities in proportion to our abilities to and energy. I was desperately in earnest to follow through and understand what was expected of me as a member of AA and to take each step of the 12 as rapidly as possible. To me, this meant telling my associates that I had joined Alcoholics Anonymous, that I didn't know what was expected of me by AA, but that whatever it was the most important thing in my life for me, that sobriety meant more to me than anything in this world. It was so important that it must come ahead of anything. There are many short phrases and expressions in AA that sound, make sound sense. First things first, solve our immediate problem before we try to solve all the others and get muddled in our thinking and doing. Easy does it. Relax a little. Try for inner contentment. No one individual can carry all burdens of the world. Everyone has problems. Getting drunk won't solve them. 24 hours a day, today is the day. Doing our best, living each day to the fullest is the art of living. Yesterday is gone and we don't know whether we will be here tomorrow. If we do a good job of living today, and if tomorrow comes for us, then the chances are we will do a good job when it arrives. So why worry about it? The AA way of life is the way we always should have tried to live. Grant us the serenity to accept the things we can't change, courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. These thoughts become part of our daily lives, are not ideas of resignation, but the recognition of certain basic facts of living. The fact that AA is a spiritual program didn't scare me or rise any prejudice in my mind. I couldn't afford the luxury of prejudice. I had tried my way and had failed. When I joined AA, I did so for the sole purpose of getting sober and staying sober. I didn't realize I would find so much more, but a new and different outlook on life started opening up almost immediately. Each day seemed to be so much more productive and satisfying. I get so much more enjoyment out of living. I find an inner pleasure in simple things. Living just for today is a present adventure. Above all, I am grateful for AA for my sobriety, which means so much to my family, friends, and business associates because God and AA were able to do me something I was unable to do for myself. Yep, I've done all my steps. I've done my steps every single day for 9 years. AA reached me that way. I had a friend that invited me to my first AA meeting. I was like, okay, whatever. I was just excited about being able to see my friend I hadn't seen since I was 17 years old. And so, knowing that a friend of mine was an alcoholic as well and would go to a meeting or meet me at a meeting was like, okay, um, I will go, I will meet you. And so I did that. And I had already quit drinking. I had been sober for, I want to say, at the very least 3 months, at the most 8 months. So I hadn't had anything for quite a while. But I was still that resentful, nasty state of mind of, I don't care what anybody else thinks of me and blah, 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 running my mouth at everybody and being rude. And because just because you quit drinking doesn't mean that you are, I don't want to say you're not doing a good thing because you are, but you also got to have a new way of thinking. And that's not being religious. That's not going to church or anything like that. That is just being a part of something that helps you with um with coming with a different way of thinking of, you don't have, you're not an alcoholic because you didn't do this and you didn't do that and blah blah blah. And you know in reality, alcoholics come in any shape, size, gender, race. It doesn't hold any bars. I mean, you can be an alcoholic if you're an ant on the floor. Just as an example, how what it's like. It doesn't care who you are, or what job you have, or how many friends you have, or how big your family is, or how much money you got. It doesn't care. It does not care. If you are an alcoholic, you're an alcoholic. It is hard to go and say, "Oh, I am an alcoholic," but until we do admit that, we're never going to be able to get over the alcohol because it does become a mind thing. Because you're constantly, like I have, and I did, constantly think, okay, I'm going to hide it. Nobody's going to know. I'm going to, sneak this change. I'm going to go and get some alcohol. I'm going to drink it on my way home. Um, Here, let me hide it. Coming up with different places to put it. And, it got exhausting trying to remember where I had put my drink. Where did I set that last beer? Where did I put that change, or did I have enough change to get another beer? Whose door did I knock on? Who the heck did I call? I did all of that. I ended up in emergency room because I busted my face open from blacking out. First only ever blackout, and that scared me to death. And I didn't want to do that again. And I got sober, and I was sober for a year. I did not have AA, and I was just living it up, thinking, okay, yeah, I'm over alcohol and all this other stuff. And then what happens? Bang! I go to a liquor store and guess what? I bought a drink that just happened to be mixed in one bottle that was my favorite drink of all. I bought it. I bought a six pack, and guess what? I drank every single one of them, and I ended up going right back down to the bottom of the barrel. It didn't take but 2 seconds. That one sip of that first one, and I was like, yeah, I got my groove back. No. Then I found AA thanks to my friend, and I got a sponsor. My sponsor is still my sponsor. And then I got my first job that I kept for a long time, and I got another sponsor. And I have a sponsor in Arizona. I have a sponsor here in Oregon, and I'm grateful for them. I'm grateful for the groups that I've gone to. I've even gone to one of the big meetings here in Oregon, a conference meeting, and everybody is so kind in the meetings, and we all want the same things, and we want to help each other stay sober and stay accountable for our own self. And because, like it says, we can't control anyone else, and we have to want this for ourselves, not someone else. So we really have to get into that mindset of our sobriety needs to come first, that we cannot stay sober if it's not us first. So we have to do our sobriety, and it just works, and we need to work our steps and go to meetings. And I don't go to meetings very often, but I do my meetings here, and I do talk to my sponsor every now and then. I talk to my sponsees just about every day, and you know it's just a learning thing. And one of my sponsees was, when she first got sober, she's like, well, I don't believe in God. And I'm like, you don't have to. You don't have to. You just need to know that there's a power greater than yourself, and it can be anything you want it to be. And so she started AA and being sober, and I'm so proud of her. And I got my sister to come to AA, and I'm very proud of her. She's 8 months sobriety right behind me, and it's been wonderful being able to share what I've learned, and actually use my voice to say that, hey, there is something that works. Um, if you haven't found it yet, you might try it. Go to a meeting and see what happens. Nobody can tell you you have to. Um, like I said, it is all up to you. You have to want it for you, and want it bad enough that you just make it work. And it's worked for me for 9 months, and in a few days it'll be 9 months or 9 years in 1 month. Sorry, I got backwards there. But yeah, and without AA, I would have never made it to 9 years. I don't even think I would have made it to my first year or to my fifth year when I finally got my 24-hour coin. But yeah, it works. It's a great program. You should check it out. And if you're wondering where there's a meeting, we all got the Google bar. I'm not sponsored by Google or anything, but you got the Google bar. Search it. Anywhere you are, there's a meeting, and it will say when and where, and go to a meeting. It could help you a lot. Could really help you a lot. And so I'm going to say the Serenity Prayer for you both, or for both platforms, Facebook and YouTube. And then I'm going to read the daily reflection for today, and I'll post it on my Facebook wall post. So let's go ahead and say the serenity prayer. And thank you all for being here. And if you find this helps you, please hit subscribe and like the video and hit the notification bell. I do 2 meetings a week, Tuesdays and Saturdays at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I also do my adventures on Wednesday mornings at 7:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Unless if I'm working on a Wednesday, then I will go live at 1. But I just want you all to know that I'm more than happy to help and to spread the AA message. It helped me, and I think it could help you. So let's go ahead and say that serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Keep coming back. It works if you work it. Love you, Facebook. Love you guys. I'll see you on the next one. Okay. Now let me get over here. Daily reflection. December 2nd. Serenity. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps. 12 traditions and 12 steps and 12 traditions, page 106. As I continue to go to meetings and work the steps, something began to happen to me. I felt confused because I wasn't sure that was feeling what I was what it was that I was feeling. And then I realized I was experiencing serenity. I was it was a good feeling, but where had it come from? Then I realized it had come as the result of these steps. The program may not always be easy to practice, but I had to acknowledge that my serenity had come to me after working the steps. As I would work the steps in everything I do, participating in these principles in all my affairs, now I find that I am awakened to God, to the others, and to myself. The spiritual awakening I have enjoyed as the result of working the steps is the awareness that I am no longer alone. Uh, I love you guys, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend. And I will see you on Tuesday. Love you. Be safe out there.